A hard line on even low-level drug crimes committed by teenagers is costing entire families their federal housing subsidies. The practice could put some households on the streets of Grand Rapids.
Target 8 investigator Henry Erb uncovered one consequence of a policy designed to rid public housing projects of illegal drugs and violence.
When they want to show their apartments, to people moving, they always show my house. They always bring people here. They say this is a home.
But Sandy Douglas is about to lose her apartment on Grand Rapids' northeast side because of something her 20-year-old son did.
I told him that wasn't fair. That was not fair. Why I'm being treated unjustly? That's not right.
Her son was caught with cocaine in another part of town, a low-level crime. He got a few months jail time, probation, and community service.
I kept saying, I'm not responsible for my son. He's 20.
But because he was still living at home part-time and was on the lease, it became an issue for the Grand Rapids Housing Commission. It administers her federal housing subsidy. It's often called Section 8, after a part of the law that created the subsidy. Federal rules for housing subsidies and public housing projects are tough on people involved with drugs. The rules grew out of decades of danger that turned some public housing projects into war zones. Grand Rapids Housing Commission's director, Carlos Sanchez, wouldn't talk to us on camera for this story, but in a phone conversation told me, we are mandated by the federal government not to serve people involved in drug-related activity. He said anybody on the lease, if caught, would automatically be terminated. But the Housing Commission ends the subsidy for the entire household of anybody caught in a drug crime. To us, it is the household, Sanchez told us. So Sandy Douglas, who suffers from MS, and her 11-year-old granddaughter lost their housing subsidy because of what Douglas's 20-year-old son did.
There is discretion available to the Housing Commission, and they've chosen not to use it in any drug case, no matter whether it's the least serious drug offense that you could possibly be charged with.
Legal aid attorney Leslie Curry says she has recently represented 5 families whose housing subsidies were being terminated by the Grand Rapids Housing Commission.
They were all female-headed households. 4 of the 5, it was a 18 or 19-year-old son who had picked up a conviction for marijuana possession, most of the time unknown to the mother or grandmother.
Curry says that last October the Housing Commission started doing criminal checks on people in their programs and found some people with minor drug charges and cut off their subsidies. Even a U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development spokesman in Washington says that did not necessarily have to happen. It is such a sensitive issue, the spokesman Jerry Brown said, that they wouldn't let their local HUD representative talk to us on camera. He says HUD rules do give local agencies the power to evict tenants and terminate subsidies, but that federal policy also allows for leniency, giving local authorities the ability to weigh the need and to look at what happens to the family now. The goal is to keep the drug offenders away, not to tear up the family or put a family on the street, he said.
One of the options for the commission is to say that the offending person has to immediately move out and be removed from the voucher program, but the Grand Rapids Housing Commission has not chosen to allow that as a resolution of these cases either.
The Housing Commission Sanchez says it's too hard to weed out the offenders from the rest of the household. There is no way we can police that, he says. So even though her son moved out, Sandy Douglas and her granddaughter are out of luck. Now, without a housing subsidy, they are losing their apartment, and she doesn't know what she's going to do.
I don't know. Probably have to go in a shelter somewhere.
In Grand Rapids, I'm Target 8 investigator Henry Erb.